What's up, everybody? Welcome into Browns Film Breakdown. I'm your host, Jake Burns. This is your Tuesday, May 6th edition of the podcast. We have a really great guest set up for you guys today. I think you're going to enjoy time with Cory Kinnan. We're going to talk through a lot of his post-draft thoughts, but I really kind of want to look ahead at some things coming both roster shape-wise, rookie minicamp, and then the 2026 class, which he's already getting out in front of right now. So good stuff there. Harold Fan and Film Room will go up today. That means we've covered the first four Browns picks: Mason Graham, Carson Schlesinger, and then obviously Quinshon Judkins, and now obviously now Harold Fannin. So check out those film rooms. That'll be up a little bit later today. If you've missed them, go back and watch them, understand the players, working through some interview stuff still. Local beat writers going to put that together for you guys in the coming week or so. And then, as we always do, some great newsletters and content available. If you want to continue to support everything we do at Browns Film Breakdown, please come by, give us an opportunity. Great monthly rates, great community to join. I think you'll really appreciate it. If you're checking this out on podcast form, 5 stars, give us that written review. Help Browns fans find us. The same for you folks on YouTube. If you could give us that thumbs up and subscription, greatly appreciate it, guys. But like I always say, best thing to do to support all the content we're making at Browns Film Breakdown is to come over to the website, join the community, and really support, I think, a great way to enjoy your Cleveland Browns. And hey, if you get into the Founders channel, we got some great stuff going on Slack. You get the free cap that's on my head and many other great opportunities as well. So thanks for everything you're doing for Browns Film Breakdown. Let's get over to our guest, Cory Kinnan, right now and jump into today's episode. All right, happy to welcome Cory in. We have a weird day, kind of a couple weird days, Cory, where this constantly fluid and moving NFL players, good people, Justin Tucker getting let go by the Ravens, the Devin Bush thing. Listen, all of this is how good are you at the game? I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I think there's a discussion to be had before we hear any details about Devin's situation that are actually meaningful or something or the other. I don't know that it even goes very long. I'm not sure the Browns ride this out because I think that they drafted Schlesinger. They've certainly got some young guys between Diabate. They want to invest. I guess some of this comes down to JOK a little bit, but like, I don't think there's a future here in another 1 year depth signing. So I actually think this is a matter of time before they run him out. Where are you at on him?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they gave him what, like $2.97 million guaranteed when they signed him, and they gave him 1.8 of that in a signing bonus. So they owe him 1.1. Like, that's pennies. Yeah, that's pennies for an NFL team. So, and again, you mentioned it. They've drafted Carson Schlesinger. They still have Jordan Hicks on the roster as well. Mo Diabate flashed in circumstances last year. He wasn't consistently good, but you definitely see the tools.
Was rough.
Yeah. And then I even like Winston Reed as like the Sam, the base Sam kind of guy. Like, he's a battering ram. He played fullback, for God's sake. Like, so I think that's a pretty decent base Sam as well to work with, which is what I think Devin Bush's role was on this team anyway. Was just like, okay, you're the base Sam, so like have fun.
And in a depth piece that could just like jump out there and play. But I do think you can find. And listen, Devin's not solving any issues here. I don't think that's the case at all. So. It just will be interesting to see how long the Browns run out this sort of scenario when it is a non-premium, a non-premium player. But okay, let's shift off that because I just wanted to see if we were aligned on that thinking, because at that point I'd rather just continue to see new bodies come in. I just would rather move that off of the roster, the situation off the roster, to keep things fluid and get guys who are younger guys more time to develop and grow, and especially considering how they went about the draft, which is obviously what I want to spend time with you on. We haven't gotten your thoughts on it, and I don't want to go through every pick. I'm not doing that. We're beyond that, a week out now. People have done that. You've done that. You've put out some really great content on this, and I've steered as many people your direction as we can. But what I want to do is have a conversation around, they didn't take a tackle, they didn't take a wide receiver, and they didn't take a safety. Not that safety's in the same tier, but between some positions that we kind of squinted at the roster and thought they needed, and the idea of taking premium players, this draft is a little bit of a deviation. Not that they got out of the age range stuff they like to do, not that they got out of too much of the early RAS score stuff they like to do, but I am interested in your thoughts, and I know some of the people who lean analytically have had a little bit of a bone to pick, and I don't know if you see this like me, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think they drafted good football players here. It's just a matter of like, if you view defensive tackle, linebacker, 2 running backs, and then I guess Dylan Gabriel, but that's a different conversation. But it's like, how do you view them taking a significant amount of non-premium positions here, and a bit of a dice roll, and not that it's going to define everything, but I do think it is. When you're short picks for so long, Corey, the meaningful picks, you can run into a bit of a danger zone when you don't have any youth injected into some of those positions. Like obviously offensive tackle we're talking about here, that is like, what are they going to do in 26, man? Because that might look dicey. So, yeah, give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I think where I would love to start is like, I think we know it, and I think they know it, that they're at least a year out. So I think they at least a year out from winning 9 to 11 football game, like 9 to 10 football, like capped it, like from a 2020 type season. And so I don't know if they felt the pressure to like, we have to fill these gaps this year. Why don't we? Because like I do love the quality of the players that they drafted. Even if I thought like drafting Quinshon Judkins, who I thought was the second best even Ohio State back. So like I could have a bone to pick on like the value based on my board compared to where their board. Like I could have that conversation. But I think I'm more interested in having the conversation of like, I think they went into this draft saying we need to shift something internally, from a locker room perspective, from a culture perspective on this roster with young players. Like this was a complete deviation. There was no day 3 character pick this year, which is I think, I mean, you could call Shador that if you want, but like Shador doesn't have character issues. Like he has an ego, but like there was no DeJuan Jones pick. There was no Perion Winfrey pick. There wasn't that pick where you just say it's day 3. We can cut him if we have to,
right?
Which is why I don't think this Devin Bush thing is going to linger on. But so I do think there was, they went after grinders. They went after Mason Graham. Carson Sweshinger, who is a former walk-on to All-American. Quinshon Judkins, who by every ounce of who he is as a running back is an absolute force to bring down. And so I do think that it's kind of twofold, where it's like they know they don't have to fill every year this year, or every gap this year. And why not give DeJuan, if you know that you're at least a year, why not give your young offensive tackle at least one more chance? I think it's kind of how they went into this. There was also that really big run on tackles at the end of the first round, right in front of them. And I think the rumor there was that they would take Josh Simmons at 33 if the Chiefs had to have taken him at 32. So that changes some things there. But I do appreciate them that they didn't just try to reach on a tackle or reach on a guy they thought could play tackle, like Jonas Savaianai, who's going to play guard in Miami and went 37th, So I do think I appreciate they said, well, let's just stick to the board then, and let's not try to force a square peg into a round hole here. So I do appreciate that perspective from their draft.
Where do you land on the quarterbacks a week removed? I think there's a lot of, oh my God, didn't see that happening with Gabriel at 94, and then Shador kind of moving after you mentally write him off, because it's like, okay, we're so far into this, and then all of a sudden they're the team that moves up for him. Have you settled into where your belief system on these guys is, or are you still confounded by what happened here?
I don't know what to make of that quarterback room. Obviously, I thought 94 and Gabriel was the reach, but like there was that video released today where Gabriel's like, the Browns are picking me at 94. So like clearly they had spent a lot of time. Both parties were very comfortable with one another, and even the Browns probably gave him some inkling, like,
Kevin,
listen, man, we might draft you earlier than you expect that you'll be drafted. It clearly felt like everybody, all parties involved knew that the Browns were going to take him earlier than he expected to go.
Well, like I'm saying, Corey, that like to give your mom a hug for me, and the first like 2 sentences is like, there's a real relationship that was formed there. Like you don't get to that point unless you spend like a serious time taking him out to dinner. They love him. Corey, I see a Case Keenum ceiling here, and I'm sorry if that makes people mad. The reason I'm like, and some people might be like, hey man, that's great. Like I think a great outcome for Dylan Gabriel is he hangs around as a backup. He comes in, mop up duty, spot start duty, some place, could be Cleveland, who knows, ends up with a situation at quarterback where they got a really good roster around him, and he has a good year, maybe a decent second year, but it's like a team's always kind of like, we want more, and he doesn't get that chance to be a 5-10 year starter. So like, I think that's the ceiling for me. And then I go back and everyone's like, yeah, that's a great thought, man. That's great. And I'm like, do you know where Case Keenum was drafted? People forget he wasn't drafted. So it's like, that's where I struggle seeing this. go beyond. I'm not trying to hate on the kid. I want to be wrong. I want to sit here in 2 years and he is Brock Purdy 2.0.
Mhm.
That'd be great. We'd love that. I just don't see it in so many different pieces of this, and not just beyond like the short arms, small hands, small stature, didn't test and tell us what kind of athlete he is. There are just tapes, like holes in the tape that I don't love. And he's never been an under center guy. And it's a massive change for him. It's not even just being under center, it's turning your back to the defense and the recalibrating, adjusting in every form and fashion. So like you can completely, lambaste me here and put me in the spot if you think I'm off on this, but that's where I'm at with him.
No, I very much agree with that. I mean, he's clearly smart, and
yeah.
What's difficult is like you see the rhythm throws at Oregon, and like he's clearly tuned into guys with like Trayshawn Holden and Tez Johnson at Oregon. But then you go to the combine and you go to the Senior Bowl, and he looks awful. And so then that leaves me to wonder, like, well, can he improvise? Can he do things off script? Can he do things off schedule? Or does he need to be like very routine, need to have a rapport, need to be completely, and that's where I start to like struggle. It's like, oh boy. And then again, there are how many sub 6 foot quarterbacks are there in the NFL? Russell Wilson had his stint. There are not very many. There are not very many, and there will not be very many. So
he's also left-handed. I mean, that's not nothing. There's like what 4 or 5 left-handed quarterbacks in the entire league. I mean, there's an adjustment to that. Like, hey, this week he's starting as opposed to Shedeur started last week, whatever. I don't know, Corey. I do
think they need to start the young guys. I do think they need to throw them out there, because what else are you playing for? Like, what good does starting a 40-year-old quarterback do for you in 2025?
No. I mean, unless you somehow have a miracle start and you've put something together quickly. I'm with you though. The likelihood of it is so small that I want to see Shedeur. Where are you on all? I know where we were ahead of the draft. Everything that's circulated, it's the flies are swarming around the dead horse that's getting beat at this point. Yeah. There's stuff that you don't know, stuff that I don't know. We don't know these things, how they're going to handle the draft process, et cetera, et cetera. But is your vibe this kid's humbled and this kid is going to come in and figure this out? Like, where are you you're putting money on this, Corey? Do you think you can't feel better about it than you did going into the draft, but I mean, if he's in a different place of mind here, you can see how it can kind of work. If you're a believer of the tape, it could work, right? In your mind. Or are you off that? Are you just really skeptical at this point?
I have to stand on my takes, right? So like I was a Shedeur guy all pre-draft. All pre-draft. So like I'm not coming off of that now, even if he fell to the 5th round. He hasn't played a down of NFL football. Cam Ward hasn't played a down of NFL football. Jackson Dart hasn't played a down of NFL football. So but, I hope that he comes in humbled, but also like I hope not too much. Like because like what's bizarre though is like there was the rumor that Donovan Mitchell and the Cavs wanted him to pull the sword at the opening playoff game. Like the Denzel Ward tweeting at him. He didn't tweet at Dylan Gabriel when Dylan Gabriel was drafted. Like, so there's clearly a belief in the locker room already, a belief in the city that this guy could do it. I'm going to stand on my pre-draft takes and say he's the most accurate throw of the football in this draft class. I know that the arm is probably B-, but I think the wits, the intangibles are A's. And so the accuracy is an A. So you get that guy coming in, you get him working with Kevin Stefanski, who again knows a lot about Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur knows a lot about Kevin Stefanski. Like those guys clearly talked. Bill Musgrave knows Deion Sanders. They talk. They like. This feels like the situation where it would work. And I feel best about Shedeur Sanders than I do of any of the 4 quarterbacks in that room right now. 5 if you want to throw in the guy who's not going to play this year, but
no, I get it. I am hard pressed to not feel the same way, while also reminding myself this is a 5th round pick, but it's like he's coming in with almost his non-quarterback stuff is going to force him to fail. And I don't think anything that he did in the pre-draft buildup is something that's going to force him to fail in a world where the scar tissue that remains from Johnny and all of those guys is like, those guys had demons that were going to force them to fail. And it's like, this is a little different. So I will be interested to see if he rewrites, hey, these teams didn't want me. The biggest issue he had was a arrogance about I belong. And like, if your biggest flaw is an arrogance about I don't belong or I belong and I don't need these other franchises, I'm just saying, yeah, that can be rectified in a meaningful way if there's a wake up there. And I don't imagine his dad is like, hey man, the NFL's out. Dion is a lot of things. He does not seem to sugarcoat what reality slaps him in the face. So it's a fascinating storyline. I can't wait to watch it. And unfortunately, he's going to have it turned into such a fiasco that the microscope of not just the football world, but now the entire world is zoomed in on it in a different sort of uncomfortable way that I really don't even like getting into on these sorts of podcasts. But
it starts this weekend when he puts that orange helmet on for the first time.
Yeah. So I'm rooting for him. I hope it works out. Okay, real quick before we take a fast break, you're in division. Whose division inside this division, obviously, draft did you like the most?
Yeah,
I don't like Pittsburgh's. I don't like Cincy's very much, and I guess
I don't like Cincy's at all.
The Ravens is built around a guy in the second round who is, a red flag off a lot of boards. That's the nicest way to say it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, the Malachi Starks pick is such a Ravens pick, though. Like,
yeah, it's a great pick.
Jeez,
I like their players. I like the guys they got. I think for the most part, I don't Emory Jones, whatever, but I like a lot of what they got.
I think if we're talking players specifically, like Derek Harmon, the Pittsburgh pick, is going to give me nightmares. Yeah, because I love Derek Harmon. But overall draft, I'll still probably say the Ravens. Yeah, let me pull up these individual drafts real fast.
I just didn't like Pittsburgh. I didn't like Sawyer. Howard, kind of whatever. I just am like
the first two, Harmon and Johnson. Like Johnson's going to go rush for 1,000 yards as a rookie. That's just is what it's going to be. But yeah,
I'd be interested though. Jaylen Warren's really good. I mean, I'm interested how much time he gets between the two of those guys. They're going to be good though. Those two are going to be a good tandem. I would agree with you on that. And it depends on what ayahuasca is going to do and whether that shapes a lot of what they ultimately do. But
yeah, I don't like the Sawyer pick. Like, how does Jack Sawyer see the field? Like, I struggle to see how he gets on the field at the NFL level. His lower half is frail thin. He has no bend. He's stiff as a board.
What position is he? Are they bulking him up and putting him in like a 4-eye? Like he's not an outside backer for them.
No,
I don't know what he's doing for them. He's like a Sam Hubbard, like a cheaper Sam Hubbard to me. And it's like that player is like a very rotational fringe edge 4-3 guy on the strong side sometimes. I don't know, man. I don't like that. I think they're getting a lot of love for some of those later picks, and I'm like, okay. And then the Bengals, it's like, I think they got Walter Noland right in front of them. We'll see. I know you like Shamar. We'll see how that pans out for them. But outside of that, I didn't really love anything that they did. There's some decent ones like Jalen Rivers later that were okay. I actually like the Taj Brooks pick for them, but I wasn't blown away. I feel like in the recent years, I've been blown away by some of the divisions drafts, and I was like, I kind of like a lot of what the Browns got comparatively.
Yeah. I think Jalen Rivers is better than Dylan Fairchild, who they drafted a few rounds earlier, to be honest, in Cincinnati. So pretty dicey, but default to Baltimore. For the Malachi Starks, I mean, Emory Jones is a guy I was really high on over the summer, just never took that step, but he has really athletic tools, and he's going to play guard at the NFL level. So kicking down that set depth, kicking down how much he's going to have to comprehend about how he needs to marry with the step of his quarterback and just be able to jump 80% of the time is going to be a huge deal. And he's got the core strength. He's got the flexibility to do that. Teddy Buchanan's a nice linebacker too. Dude.
I do like that.
He rotates out and he runs up the seam real well. And then
it seems like everything at Cal was kind of hidden out there. And then talk about that in a minute.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, like, it's hard to grade day 3 picks, but a nice Peebles is a guy who feels like he's just going to go in there as a rotational pass rusher and he's going to have like 4 sacks as a rookie. And it's going to be like, but I
agree. Okay. Let's take a break, come back. And then I want to talk about some early 26 names that matter because it seems like a fun class. So we'll be right back.